As soon as your baby is born, he begins to adapt to life outside the womb, and both of you will get ready to start breastfeeding. It's not unusual to feel anxious about what to do, especially if it's your first baby, so it helps to prepare yourself in advance. Going to an antenatal class can be a good start. In this film, we'll join a group of pregnant women learning how breastfeeding works and what to expect in the early days. In a few weeks' time, these women will give birth. One of the most important decisions they'll make is how they'll feed their baby. They've come to a class given by their midwife to find out more about breastfeeding. They discover that their bodies are actually already preparing to breastfeed.
When do you think your body starts preparing for breastfeeding? During pregnancy. Right, brilliant. So do you know what the first milk that you produce is called? Fantastic, colostrum. All of you sat here have got colostrum already. But if you feel your breasts, there's nothing there. There is, but there's a small amount, and there's a very good reason for that. When your baby's born, their tummy is that big. It's perfectly formed, but actually it hasn't had to do a lot of work, because inside you, your baby's being fed by the umbilical cord. Add to that the fact that it's squashed by a whole load of poo that your baby has yet to delight you with in the first couple of days of life, and it's not in the best shape to actually do a big job. This tummy, we reckon, on day one, will comfortably only take 8 mils. That's not a lot. But magically, your body makes 5 mils, roughly, per breast, per feed. Absolutely perfect. So what this colostrum is small volume, plus, even cleverer, a laxative to help this child do a poo, and what the other stuff it's got that's really, really important? Antibodies, brilliant. A shot of immunity at birth. How long do you think you get your colostrum for? Anybody any idea when your mature milk comes in? Yeah, brilliant. After about 3 to 4 days, you get your mature milk. Now, why does it take that long? Well, it takes that long because your baby's little tummy takes that long to have enough space to actually cope with a whole feed of proper milk. But you need that confidence in your head that this colostrum is what your baby needs. Now, if you were sat next to a mum who wasn't breastfeeding and who was giving artificial milk, she may well give that baby a significant amount of milk. But look at this tiny tummy. How will that actually feel when a big volume of milk goes in it? Stuffed. Uncomfortable. It's not the message we want. The message we want is finish food when you're nicely, comfortably full, but you're not absolutely stuffed.
It's good to start breastfeeding early. It can take practice to get it going. If it doesn't feel right, ask for help.
I sort of liken the beginning of breastfeeding to how we are when we learn to ride a bike, okay? At the beginning of riding a bike, we wobble. If you think about us as human beings, we can all talk, we can all walk. Did we do that instantly? No. We needed a period of time to learn it, and we also need a period of time to learn breastfeeding. But nature's even got that covered. Your baby, your healthy term baby, is born with packed lunch. Enough grub on board, enough nutrition to last it about 24 hours. So while you're beginning to try and you're learning and you're thinking, oh, this feels a bit weird and I'm not sure, and oh, great, the midwife's come, she'll give me some help. Your baby's saying, I'm quite relaxed because I've still got some of that packed lunch left.
But for some babies, for instance those who have jaundice, it's important to make sure they do feed often.
With jaundice babies, we recommend quite early feeding. Okay, so that might not be a baby that we'd say, well, you've been born with a packed lunch, we're not going to worry too much. Our advice to you is actually get on and encourage them to feed a little bit earlier. Another baby that might need a little bit of prompting to feed might be a baby where the mum has had pethidine in labour. Now, pethidine is a strong narcotic, okay? And one of the things it does to mummy is makes her feel all nice and happy and laid back, okay? It also does the same to the baby. But we actually want that baby to feed too. So we might say, I know I've had pethidine. I remember what Bella said, that it might make my baby a little bit sleepy. I'm not going to allow it the luxury. I'm going to wake it up. I'm going to encourage this baby to feed. If it's not waking up, ask your midwife, your healthcare assistant to help you hand express your breast milk. Breast milk is always the gold standard. If anybody suggests that your baby receives anything other than breast milk, it has to be with your permission as the baby's mother. Make sure that you're clear that you're happy with the reason.
If you have a cesarean, it can take a little longer for feeding to get going, so skin-to-skin contact is important, and there are other things you can do to help it along.
You could hand express colostrum just before you went in for the cesarean, which we could then give to your baby in the immediate minutes or hours after birth. That does two things. You know that even if you didn't feel 100% after that cesarean, your baby's had food, and your body's had some stimulation right at the very beginning of the process to say, this baby is on its way, come on, let's get going. The more cues you give your body, the quicker it will respond. So let's talk about how we're going to feed this baby. Well, I've said we've got a tiny tummy in the beginning, so we're talking about little and often. As the mature milk comes in, what the mature milk has is much more fluid. And at that point, your baby, you'll probably find, will take longer feeds with a slightly bigger gap.
This gap may vary from feed to feed depending on how hungry your baby is. It's perfectly normal for a breastfed baby to want to feed more often than a formula-fed baby, and frequent feeding is not a sign that you don't have enough milk. If you feed your baby as often and as long as he wants, you'll produce as much milk as he needs. And the good news is that a breastfed baby cannot be overfed.
The expectations have to be realistic. How many of you have got friends who've said, I really wanted to breastfeed, but I didn't have enough milk? What do you think they mean by that? Because it's one of the commonest reasons women will give about giving up breastfeeding, but in reality, it's the least likely. What they mean is, when they started breastfeeding like this, they thought, whoa, what's happening here? This is too quick. I was expecting my baby to go 3.5 to 4 hours. So your anxiety levels rise. Maybe your mum's there saying, that little baby could do with something, feeding quite often. I used to bottle feed you and put you in a pram and leave you. You slept beautifully for 3.5 to 4 hours. Well, of course I did. I was stuffed. My little tummy was saying, whoa, help me. Not because the quality of that milk was so much better. A newborn baby needs to feed little and often. By looking at your baby and following your baby's cues, you'll do the right thing.
As these mums have found, there's plenty of information and support that can help you prepare for parenthood, breastfeed, and build a special relationship with your baby. Don't be afraid to ask for help or support if you need it. It can make such a difference. You can ask your midwife and health visitor, and you'll find contact details for other places to go for support by pressing the Where to Go for Help button in the main menu on this DVD.